Alright, hello again YouTube people, and hello still to Anakin and everyone on Twitch. I'm not going to go too much into detail here. If you haven't seen the other early Republic at War preview that we did this week on Monday, go check that out. We're going to continue on looking at the Confederacy now. We already looked at some of the changes to the Republic. We do have Anakin here, the developer of the mod, who is walking us through some of the changes and talking a little bit about the future of Republic at War. So thank you again for joining me, Anakin.
No problem.
And we are going to play Core Assault as the Confederacy. Last time we did Triad of Evil as the Republic. I'm just playing around with the changes right now. Eventually we will do a full playthrough, but I'm going to be starting the Fall of the Republic playthrough, which is our Clone Wars mod from Thrawn's Revenge, next week. So I figure having 3 LPs, 2 Clone Wars ones going on at the same time, probably not the best idea for the channel. But we will do a full playthrough later where I'm actually concerned about keeping everything alive. Yeah, so is there any broader scope CIS changes that you want to talk about? We talked a bit about how the focus with the Republic last time was towards some of their smaller range ships and bringing them a bit more in line with everything. So is there anything that really stuck out for the CIS for you in this release?
Yeah, we talked about it. Basically, we readjust the fighting aggression layout for the ships. For the Confederacy, we added Hyena bombers as a Tech 5 squadron. And we just also did some balanced treatment like the HMP. I think that was a little bit overpowered. So we tried to reduce it a bit. Hopefully not too much, but it's way better now.
Have there been any changes to the to air targeting? So I think one of the things that made the HMP and even the LAT as powerful as they were was just how few units could actually retaliate in any way against them. So is that something that's changed, or has it been more about the stats on the HMP that you've changed?
I don't think it was sorry, that point. It was more like the Confederacy had too many units that could actually shoot at air units of the Republic, and there was no counterplay for the Republic to that. So we just reduced the aim of the, for example, the AAT a bit, so it could not as easily destroy air units.
I think this was one of the planets that I remember Dooku nuking all the turbo lasers on, so let's see what they have here.
I forgot my orders.
Always turbo lasers?
Our new Confederacy alliance
Oh, I think it's empty. They're scared. It didn't show any base level, so I think they only have a unit or 2 here.
The Jedi better watch out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just the ATPT. Alright, let's bring over Munificent. And we'll go for a Brigado Ray.
Constructing unit.
Raptoroids. And we'll get a... Hold on. Research facility. There we go.
Yes. I think Coruscant is restricted at the moment. You can't attack it. Yeah.
Construction complete. Tactical battle imminent.
What are your thoughts on the Fallen Order and Clone Wars shows? I'll probably do some videos on Datapad about that in the future. But anywho, let's go kill some clones. Space clones right now, but still clones.
Fighter squadrons are stationed here to protect.
So, what would you say apart Republic at War from your Clone Wars mod at the moment?
We've got enemy forces in sector 4.
Well, it actually comes up a lot ever since we relaunched Fall of the Republic, because it did exist before, but really the fact that it's the same setting is really the only real similarity. The same way that it's just the same setting that would make people compare like Phoenix Rising, AOTR, and Thrawn's Revenge. Like the styles are very different. Even just simple stuff like our non-penetrating shield stuff versus other mods penetrating shield stuff. It's like a Thrawn's Revenge Clone Wars mod as opposed to a Clone Wars mod that happens to be made by Thrawn's Revenge. So if you look at the Clone Wars 4.0 and Raw, even just right now, or any other Clone Wars mod or Clone Wars content-oriented mod that's out at the moment, then there's some
basically
significant...
just clones for Republic at War.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the
One credit,
quote-unquote some mod. Yeah. Well, I think the 1 credit 1 second series of mods shows a nuanced understanding of Empire at War modding, and then everyone who goes and donates to their Patreon is being very smart with their money and rewarding what is clearly a lot of work. /S. But yeah, so I think the styles of combat between Republic at War and Thrawn's Revenge, that already kind of sticks through in Imperial Civil War, and it's the same kind of difference that you'd see between Fall of the Republic and Republic at War. So it's not, other than the fact that a munificent is munificent, a province is a province, I don't think there's going to be that much overlap in terms of gameplay styles. So it's not something that's ever really concerned us too much. I don't know if you have a different opinion on that, or...
No. So what we are just talking about that in Thrawn's Revenge, you have something like an area system for the heroes.
Yes.
And that's something we discussed just recently on our channel, doing for the Confederacy heroes, because they tend to appear in canon just more episodically than the Republic heroes, which stayed from the beginning of time till Order 66, and the vanilla system of Force of Corruption just makes more sense for the Republic, but for the Confederacy, it feels a bit offset to have, for example, Jango Fett until Tech 5, and other heroes just appear at a point with no exchange for that. So I think we will experiment a bit on having also some sort of system. That's something we want to try, at least for upcoming versions.
Is that something that you would have vary a bit more by Galactic Conquest then, or a bit more universal, and then have the tech sort of be semi-converted into an era system? So would you, for example, get different hero sets in, just to use the 2 GCs we've been doing, the Core Assault versus Triad of Evil, or would it just be if your tech, like Tech 5 would count as a different era, and then that would kind of translate between all the GCs the same way?
I'm not too sure about that, actually. As I said, the idea just came up very recently, so we're just trying to make our own opinions, see what sounds right. It kind of relates to what I said just earlier, where we want to look at each individual Galactic Conquest and get the maximum out of it. So you have stories there, and you have a different setting here. And I think we go to for a way where we have maybe a conquest where the attacking system works differently, or the hero system works differently. Attacking and hero systems should also work a bit more independently. That's something we try to work in. Not too sure about the Confederacy attacking system, but for the Republic we have something planned that is also based on research, but taking the research part of it much more little literally.
Okay. I think, okay, I do still have a minute. Okay, we're good. Yeah, that's definitely something that we've wanted to focus a bit on, is using GCs to present stuff a little bit more uniquely between them. Because it's something where we have a lot of GCs in Imperial Civil War, and it makes it a bit harder to get any individual developed too much, especially when we have as many factions. That's something that I've kind of enjoyed about working on Fall of the Republic, is that there's the two main factions, and then it really does come down to the GCs to make stuff different for them.
Well, I think there needs also be a bit of caution, because if you extend it too much, I think people might come to the idea, well, one GC is one different idea, and it just doesn't feel consistent as a mod.
Yeah, you definitely need to make sure that
you need a
the
base.
differences
or
are clear
something.
and they have a clear idea of what to expect from the mod in general. And Yoda's going to kill us all, so I'm not going to do this.
The sudden loss of communications
But
with their
the especially, I think narrative
will have them wary.
storylines are probably the easiest way to differentiate that without making the base mechanics too different. Which it sounds like is kind of what you're heading towards with the Fall of the Jedi stuff, and then also anything you do with
Yes.
full campaign
So-
later.
Very good.
What we also planned was something like having a absolute, I would call it a absolute canon conquest, where we try to add units that are really based or replicated from the actual canon. So we try not to look too much too balanced there, but just to have it as perfect to what you see in the movies, and try that a bit out if that works for the game.
Well, there was something, I assume this was probably before you even joined the team, where when Republic at War and Imperial Assault merged, where there was the idea that they'd still release the two mods, it's just share all the assets, and then Imperial Assault would just be stuff that was from the movies.
Yes, that was the original idea, and
Oh god.
I still think maybe I'm a bit too nostalgic about it, but I try to keep the movies as the really base reference we look at, and second comes in the Clone Wars series, because that is just a great source of content you can put into the mod, and it adds so much more richness and details. And
Sorry.
what?
They have their transports here, so they're retreating.
Oh.
But yeah, so it's actually something that we've. I'm not sure if you get the same question about it, of like where people get upset about the Clone Wars cartoon being included, when it's like, if you're trying to make a Clone Wars mod at this point, to have enough units and have enough content to actually get anywhere, you kind of need to use it at least as a source for
Yes.
for units, if not necessarily for as much for the for any storylines you plan.
Well, story-wise, it's of course something you need to consider, because
Yeah.
that's what
Like
PZ
we're doing it as well,
what-
but just the suggestion people have that the whole show should be thrown out.
Yes.
If you're even going to make something where like, oh, I don't like the story of that, you kind of need to look at the show for units.
you need to do that because people expect from you that you know what was going on, and that you keep reference to it at some place. That's obviously a point. But we have also different sources. I'd like to bring up the book, or the audiobook that is available of the how is it called in English? um,
Upgrade in progress.
Maze of Evil.
Oh, Labyrinth of
Um,
yeah.
Yes, that's actually a really great source for looking into what could be done as a story. There are a few things or scenes that we really consider of adding into them. Yes, but
Is that the book with the where Stormfleet destroyers are introduced? There's a few of the older Clone Wars books that had a few named units that never really show up anywhere. But
ooh, can't tell about that. Ju-
Upgrade complete.
I haven't heard to it
hey,
in the
Recusant.
recent time. I just can remember the base storyline and where it's going.
So a few days ago, I officially chose the Recusant as my favorite Star Wars unit. So I'm glad that I got to actually use one in the stream. I think it's would that be Tech 3? The Recusant?
Rescue or 3 or 4 can't.
I was afraid I wouldn't get there in time, but now I'm relieved. Now they can kill all my stuff and it'll be fine.
Reinforcements en route.
Send it in battle then.
I could die. Why would I?
So what we're talking about was using different sources for the mod,
Yeah.
and I think we agreed that you need to look at the other source for gameplay or mechanics or story, but we really try to have our visuals based on what was presented in the movie,
Right.
and not in this television series.
But with that, you get a pretty specific visual style too. So it's what we usually do for any of the contradictions that people point to is just we rely on essentially Guide to Warfare that usually did a good job of highlighting the overall narrative, which is all you really need for something like an Empire War mod. You never get to the level of detail where it ends up mattering too much about specific contradictions, but is that do you just keep it at like the hierarchy of movies than the other sources, or do you have any like source books that you try to use to resolve issues, or just whatever seems to make sense for gameplay?
We try to stick to the movies, but if something really makes sense for the gameplay, or even if it puts Republic at War apart from the other mod, and is a cool feature, I think we still will add that.
Okay. Can I move you over here and just save you from the destruction of all of our friends here? No, engines are gone. All right. Well,
Too bad.
Adzuri had a good run. So you talked a little bit about some Mandalorian stuff for later. Have you put any thought into anything you'd like to do with the huts? Is that something that you'd like to expand or explore at all, or is that something you'd rather just leave alone?
Commencing.
I can't tell for sure, but I don't think that the huts or pirate faction will be taking a place in further versions. I don't see the necessity of doing that. Even in the Clone Wars series, the huts were just such a minor faction, and the episodes they released with them were, at least in my opinion, disposable.
About the main plot of the movie, where the entire Clone Wars hinged on Stinky. I forget this.
Yeah, but it felt a bit unnatural, or at least out of place.
What a great
It's,
movie that was.
It was entertaining, for sure.
My
But it-
roommate and I have been talking about for like a year
just don't-
watching the movie and doing like a recap video on it.
I could use a
It-
nice oil bath.
It's so bad.
See clones.
It was entertaining at a certain level, but it just didn't add too much to the general plot. So
Yeah. I mean,
Nope.
it's kind of
No hugs.
mean of me to criticize. It's obviously meant for a younger age group, but still.
I've never seen a Jedi.
well, it also evolved. So it was for the younger ones in the first place, but as you go, I think season 5 was something like the game breaker, where you had an idea that the actual Clone Wars was that the series was something like done for adults, or at least
Yeah,
for
it definitely
persons
progressed that way.
Yes, that was something that really impressed me, that they kind of had the balls to do that, and not stick to the shiny colors kids version. Just like having Jar Jar, I don't think Jar Jar ever showed up in the later episodes.
Yeah. Well, if you watch the first season, it seemed like the entire Clone Wars was happening on Naboo. Where like half the episodes were just Jar Jar and Padme on Naboo doing stuff. But
Yeah,
that
was
definitely
that
changed.
Blue Shadow virus. Was it that called in English? I just
I
badly translated. I can't remember.
Or Yoda. There we go. Okay, we did kill Yoda and Mace. We killed Mace Windu without Dooku being there. He got the last hit, but it seemed like a reasonable amount of forces were killing him, so that definitely feels a lot better.
Roger, roger. We can finish this.
Let's, I do miss my AATs now, since Yoda killed them, but we'll mourn later.
Roger,
Should
roger.
be fine though.
We have a bombing run, so any major targets, I'll just use that on it.
Better watch out.
Right, so I guess back to the plans for story missions. Is that something that you're focusing on one faction first, or where you'd be developing them simultaneously, or is it something where it's just going to be a Republic thing?
Well, the mod is called Republic at War, so of course I think it's natural to have the Republic first philosophy. We don't want to have the Confederacy as a minor faction which only gets new features if we get too much requests of it. But I would say that the Republic has priority at this point.
Okay, so it has priority, but it is something that you'd want to do for later for the CIS.
Well, I would just say it's like 60-40 to for the Republic
Right.
in percentage.
Okay. Let's get a repair. So these crab droids are looking rough now.
Repair station constructing.
Killed the ATRTs. I think those would have been garrison forces, though, so I'm not sure if we're in the clear from them yet. Yeah, there's one.
Did you hear something?
Shoot it.
Fire.
Shoot it with fire.
Fire at will.
Or will.
Construction complete.
It's
Or
such
will.
a raw deal.
That's rude.
Okay. Dooku's gonna look around for enemy structures. You guys need to hang out by the repair platform.
Can't you just guard the repair platform and they stick to it?
You can. but then sometimes they chase stuff more, which is unacceptable.
Bad programming. So what the television season also did feature a very lot, maybe too lot, was the progress of showing how the politics work in the entire Clone Wars, and I tried to think of some features where we put that mechanics also into the mod, not as a we talked about it as a general feature, but something that might appear in one Galactic Conquest only, and you have some politics there as well. We had planned something like you may not attack
Unit
as
destroyed.
the Republic. You may not attack before you consult the Senate or something. We, we're not sure if that works as we want, or if that even is a thing for the mod. There are some ideas we are having further versions.
Yeah, that's something we've been kind of playing with as well. Is for us, we're doing more of like a broader government mechanic and planetary unrest and all that. But it's definitely a kind of mechanic that will help with the galactic level of Empire War. Just not feeling like a way to just connect the battles, which it can often feel like. Adding some extra level of stuff to do while your units are building.
Yes. But I think that's something you need to be cautious with, so
Yeah.
you don't want to let that take over the actual war thing, and
Yeah. You don't want to feel like you're taking away the player's agency by...
yes.
No one likes to play a red tape simulator.
I know a few people.
It's like... I don't know if Europa would count as that, but... I do like playing that red tape simulator.
I'm most grateful for your cooperation.
But what we really need, instead of getting Empire at War, or a sequel for Empire at War, what we really needed was a game where you just work on the CIS's trade policy.
Construction complete.
So, I think you should just cut out all the battles from the mod, and just go really hard on setting tariffs for each planet.
Maybe.
If you've ever played Off-World Trade Sim, or... I think it's
We've secured a landing zone.
Off-World Trading something by Stardock. It
I don't think
would
so.
make a great Empire at War mod.
I'm most grateful for your cooperation.
No. Can't remember.
It's far from over.
I'm kind of afraid to send him out to find everything else, because he is mortal now. But I think we've almost killed everything.
With you indeed. It's time for us to strike the Jedi.
Well, if most of the units are dead, or at least all the structures, the map should reveal.
Secured a build pad.
So you are missing something.
Sensor node constructing.
Now is the time for us to
Construction
strike.
complete.
No, farm.
Construction
The
complete.
farmers
Also,
were really
I'm not
standing up
sure.
to me.
I was not really sure about that
It's far
map reveal feature. Was something Empire at War had originally, but I think it was for some reason disabled in Force of Corruption, or at least I never saw it happening in Force of Corruption. So we tried to re-implement that. Not sure if that was necessary or.
I think some of the values were off with it. There were a few things that were in EAW that Force of Corruption kind of messed up. I think the reflective shaders on water is one of those things.
Yeah, winning movies at the end of a GC
Yeah.
completely.
With that, I think they just didn't want to do the consortium one. I think that still just has to be turned on and it's all still functional, but
Yeah, there's maybe somewhere commented out in C code, but nothing we can access.
tells us to use greater strength against
the ATRTs are just running away. Dooku just wants friends.
en route.
But he still seems very powerful.
I'm most grateful.
Well, when he was around more units at once, he was still taking decent damage, and at the start of the battle we had Mace run up to just like a company of battle droids, the crab droids and AATs, and he was doing alright, but he still died to just them before Dooku walked up. Well, he got the last shot, but it was still mostly the regular units, so I think this is just because of how few units he's fighting at once, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that, unless his stats are super off from Mace and Yoda.
Force is strong with you indeed.
Double the pride.
Reinforcement point contested.
Right, I'm just gonna auto-resolve. It'll probably lose Dooku, but
The
this is
enemy has been defeated.
we're not. There was nothing left. Okay,
System conquered.
just wanted to make sure we had chance for another battle or two.
Tactical battle imminent.
Oh, not this one though. Wait, do we have? Yeah, that's just mining stuff.
Droid works destroyed.
I'm not gonna get too much out of defending that. So we'll go to Rendili. And is there anything else that
Imminent.
we haven't touched on at all that you'd like to focus on for the last bit here, or?
I think pretty much has been said already. Maybe talking a bit more general about conquests is that we want to try to make the winning conditions a bit more dynamic. So at the moment we are sticking to the what was originally set up by Empire at War, but with Lua script and magic you can implement some more winning conditions. That's definitely something we want to add in the future. Something like if you play Fall of the Jedi GC, or maybe not that, but a other GC, if Palpatine dies, well, Clone Wars is over, basically. So you lost. Or if Anakin dies, well, what will happen in the original story, no one knows. Lost. So that's something we are having ideas and planning to add to.
Yeah, that definitely would help with one of the late game issues in Empire at War just generally is that after a certain point you very clearly won and you're not getting a challenge anymore, and then you still kind of gotta destroy everything.
Yeah.
Different victory conditions would definitely help reduce that.
That's something I call the point of return. You have to, in simulation game, you start with very few money, and there's some point where you have basically won the game because you can never run out of money again.
Mm-hmm. That's actually something I should bring up. Has there been any change to the to any of the economic structures? I know there was a new type of them added somewhere. I don't remember what it was. Nova crystals, was it?
Nova crystal mines at Megiddo.
Right. There were one of the things that could make it a bit easier with some of the factions or on some of the GCs was there'd be individual planets you could take and you'd get just so much money from them that it kind of became your whole economy, or if you didn't have them then it could hamstring either your or the AI's economy entirely. Have you thought about shifting that around a bit, or have you shifted that around a bit?
Not in this version, but we have some plans for the economics, but nothing too nothing that much worked out. So,
So is that something that you'd want to look into more for like one of the future content releases then, or just kind of
definitely.
playing along with it how it's okay.
Playing a bit along with it. I think to give a small peek, the Clone Wars series also showed a few scenes how it could work, what economic infrastructures could be involved, but there's nothing at this moment.
I think we got this one a bit more on lockdown. This poor Providence has made some friends.
Your reinforcements.
Drop you in here.
Reinforcements cancelled.
So with the with different types of victory conditions, is that something that you'd be wanting to work into existing GCs, or is that something where you'd be aiming to introduce new GCs built around them, or a mix?
Maybe a mix. We tried that in the 1.2 release, where originally in the Triad of Evil you had just to conquer 3 planets, and then you basically won. And we added that you need to cut the subplay lines, and then you are allowed to conquer the target planets. That's something we added additionally, just to make it a bit more difficult, to bring more depth into
Invasion commencing.
the winning condition. That's definitely just something we want to expand in the existing GCs, but also create
Choose
some for
your
new ones.
reinforcements.
Very good.
Yeah, that was something that didn't notice on that.
This will
What's
be a
the
crippling
criteria
blow
to
the
unlock
Republic and
Coruscant on
critical
this
to the
GC?
advancement of our cause.
I think you need to have
The Jedi will be
Kuat,
Ah, well.
Okay, so
Corellia, Renly. I can't recall, but
yeah, so it's
in the-
capturing the planets around it, the important core ones, and then you can
Yes.
go in for. Okay, that's interesting.
So on the other side, if you play the Republic in this conquest, there was a point where the AI had all of the planets, but for some reason
What was that
it didn't dare to attack Coruscant for whatever reason.
Hmm.
So we implemented something like Force Attack, which happens at, what was it, day 35 or something, where the AI generates a large fleet and is bound to attack you at Coruscant. So you have that epic boss fight at the end.
The Republic
Hmm.
has played into my hands.
Have you thought at all about doing any kind of
We've lost a build pad.
asymmetric G or a GC that's built entirely around one faction for that kind of thing, or is it something where you'd want to make sure that anything you design would have a version for each faction? Like if for this one, just having it be a CIS one, and then you can design it around entirely being the CIS's victory conditions in their storyline, or
I want a bigger
Mm,
blaster.
Reinforcement
Mm,
point contested.
oof.
Let's get 'em.
I don't think I can
Don't let 'em get through.
I can tell much about this, because I don't know at this moment.
okay.
But I just would say the general thing that if it feels natural for this being there at this place, I think we will go this way.
We've lost a
Okay.
build pad.
I can't remember if it was. I think it was during the Republic one where we talked a little bit about how you were gonna make the whole infantry running while firing mechanic in the mod. Is that something that you would want to apply to all the infantry, or is that something that you would use to sort of differentiate infantry, like B1's not doing it but clones doing it, or B2's doing it and B1's not, or is it something you'd want to make like a full standard infantry mechanic?
Mm,
I miss out on all
well,
the good battles.
originally it was planned to just shift the wall mechanic to every unit. But now, if you mention it, I think it might also bring in
Jedi better watch
a
out.
bit more dynamic and depth. So we might consider that as well. So
Roger, Roger.
So,
Well, green hats and backpacks. It looks like they're heading off to Droid summer camp.
must strike.
Uh,
I am a master of the
or Droid.
where's the tent?
excellent.
Dooku's the camp counselor.
Time is of the essence.
All right.
Roger, Roger.
The force is strong with
I have no idea if I'm going the right direction. That's good. I think. Oh, there's another crossing over here that I should have gone for.
very possibly outnumbered.
We've secured a landing zone.
Will falter.
We've secured a
Clones.
We can finish them.
This time
Cologne.
I think they had 3 structures here that we'll have to look for. They're. I'm not sure if the whole base is up there or if it's spread across the whole western side of the map, but we'll
I've never seen
We'll
a
track 'em
Jedi.
down.
I'm getting an oil bath
I
after
think
this.
it's all up there.
time has come. I am en route.
My servos need cleaning.
Ah!
Roger,
Oh, that-
Roger. They should have cloned
the scout
someone
bike
else
when it was on
outside.
fire looked like a missile, so
Nothing
I
gets past me.
Our new Confederacy alliance
I
grows.
thought they had like
See here, we
a
can
much
finish
bigger
them
unit there than they
clones.
did.
Feel the gathering.
Ah, ATRTs everywhere.
Fire at will.
Kill them.
Would have been a massive missile.
Hey, you see that flying at you? You have no time to think about whether it's reasonable or not. You just gotta react, and my reaction was to kind of shriek a little bit.
I'm most grateful
Which-
for your cooperation.
Not
Well,
useful.
my reaction would be get the heck out of there.
Little time to
Well, I'm not physically there. It's my units, so I'm fine either way.
You should care for your units.
Eh, they're droids.
Unit destroyed.
I'm role playing as a regular CIS commander.
Secured a build pad.
force is strong
Disposable.
indeed.
We secured
Yeah, I figured there was a potential for a building over here, Kumar, so I had to check everything. I'm being completionist.
So Dooku got his 10-kilometer walk.
Here, you guys, you want to keep shooting him. Ha, idiots. Now you're dead.
Fools.
Far from over.
Okay, so I think there are just 2 more structures. Hey, not that one.
Your skills are pathetic.
We lost a build pad. Choose
We
your
have more droids we can just drop in here.
That was a mean tactic.
Oh well. Have you thought at all about putting weapons on the dropships to sort of help with
The war has
Uh,
become my master.
the landing zone rushing
My orders.
strategy? It's something that a few mods have done. I think we've done it AOTR and Phoenix Rising. It can, if it goes too far in one direction, then it can be really overpowered with the dropships destroying everything. But is that
I
something that you've
think-
looked at?
I think our acclimator for when you land the 501st is armed.
Hmm.
So that gives a bit of
For your cooperation.
air support. I initially thought that was just a mistake by Xerox when coding.
The force
But
is
we
strong with you indeed.
we have some plans to implement that also as a feature, as you said, not for every transport because that will pretty much kill
Mhm.
kill it, but
Time has come. I am en route.
that's definitely something
Ah,
we want to try out. So far it's only exclusive to the acclimator, but maybe it will be extended to some more units.
okay. I found him. Hey, chase Dooku into the bombing run. No, it's too late.
Should add friendly fire for that not to happen.
The big downside with that is that the AI will often just murder themselves
Kill itself.
entirely.
Yes.
So it
I think there was a discussion on Discord.
yeah. Okay, he's getting ATRT fucked. Jesus, they're everywhere.
Aha, now Duke is taking some.
It's like a cockroach infestation.
construction complete.
Oh, look at that. That's why there's so many.
They didn't chase him down.
Because the AI likes to hang around structures like that.
What a
So-
wasted opportunity.
Yep. But I don't feel bad about exploiting it.
Lost a build pad. We
Jedi
secured a
better
build
watch
pad.
out. I want to be upgraded to a G series. Have you seen the new droid?
I don't think
Possibly outnumbered.
that's gonna work out well for the droids over there.
I'm most grateful for your cooperation.
Reinforcement point contested.
Battle is far from over.
Okay. Make your final stand, Dooku. See if you can win.
Bombing run available.
If they were all together, I think they'd be able to
A build pad.
kill him, but they all ran off after the droids. So I think he can do this.
A build pad. We secured a build pad.
Ooh, anti-vehicle turret.
Republic has played into my hands.
Yes, chase. No! X.
Absolutely
Die!
saying tells us to
They're running back to another one, I think.
yourself. You are exceeding my expectations. I'm most grateful for your cooperation.
Get back here.
Battle is far
Get back here.
little time to waste.
Oh god!
Exceeding my expectations.
Maybe Duper
This is it.
just should track them and then you build the turret.
We are
Yeah, that would be
That worked.
perfect mention.
achieved.
All right, so with that fantastic bombing run, I think we're going to end this one here as well. So thank you again for the early look at the mod, Anakin, and for joining me.
No problem. Yeah, was fun.
So, like I said a little bit earlier, or possibly in the last video, I will be doing a full playthrough on the version when it's out, and I'll do a little bit more testing on my own and just give any feedback I have off screen. But
just report me, yes.
but yeah.
You have the special build, so if a new beta version gets out, you get message, download it, try it out.
Perfect. So yeah, we are going to be starting the Fall of the Republic preview playthrough next Friday, and then after I get through that or finish the Imperial Civil War one, so we don't have like 5 or 6 EAW playthroughs going on, then I'll take a look at Republic War again in a full playthrough instead of just these the 2 truncated ones we've had here. But hope you guys have all enjoyed this early look. Thanks again, Anakin, and I'm going to be streaming.
Thank you for hosting.
Of course. Yeah, so I'm going to have one more stream tonight, which is going to be Jackbox Party Pack. So if anyone wants to join in on YouTube for that, that's going to be in about 2.5 hours. I assume Anakin will be asleep by then.
Probably.
All right. See you later, everyone.